Welcome back, Shark Kings. Last week, we dropped a controversial video about 10 reasons why the PS4 is better than the PS5. 10 features that the PS4 had that we missed dearly when upgrading to the PS5. Go watch that video to catch up. Originally, that video was supposed to be 20 reasons, but it was already over 20 minutes long, and we were only halfway through the list. So instead of making it an hour-long video, here is part 2 for you guys who were really invested. So today, we're going to go over a few more reasons why people love the PS4 more than the PS5. Don't get me wrong, the PS5 is amazing for what it is. It is a beast of a machine, and it will get its own rebuttal video of the things the PS5 does better than the PS4. So don't get your panties in a bunch, PS5 fanboys. I'm with you. This video is all about features that we missed that the PS4 had that seem to be missing on the PS5. Some of the problems of the last video could be fixed with a simple software update. So yes, we are complaining, but it's for the greater good. Hopefully, if we get enough noise over here, someone at Sony will finally be attuned to what the gamers who've made them rich actually want to see implemented. So even though some of these points are niche and nitpicky, gamers do notice when these features go missing. So let's go over the more reasons on how the PS5 is evolving backwards. The catalog. Okay, the biggest difference in PS4 versus PS5 is the game catalog. For the amount of time the PS5 has been out, it barely has any games to show for it. Now, I understand this might be a mood point because the PS5 can play the majority of PS4 games, but that's not what I'm talking about here. We're focusing on the life cycle. The PS4 came out in November of 2013. The final model of the PS3 was released 3 years later in late 2016. So the PS4 and PS3 were both pumping out games for both systems for 3 years. When the PS3 was finally discontinued, the PS4 Pro came out the same month, November 2016. You see, the PS3 was released in November of 2006, which means it had a very healthy 10 years. Some would argue it's an even better console than the PS4. So let's recap. The PS4 Pro came out exactly 10 years after the original PS3 came out, which follows a similar trajectory to the PS5. The PS5 was released in November of 2020. The PS5 Pro came out in November of 2024, 11 years after the PS4 came out. But unlike the PS3, which was discontinued the moment the next generation's Pro version came out, the PS4 is still chugging along. So far we've had an overlap of 5 years where games were released for the PS4 and the PS5. So we're now at a point where games are being released on 4 consoles at the same time. During that time period, the PS4 has pumped out about 3,500 games, which is wild. That's almost one new game every single day for 10 years straight. Now, if we fast forward to the PS5, we're at the half-life of this console. Sure, we have access to 3,000 games, but many of those games are just PS4 games. So how many PS5 exclusive games do we actually have in the first half-life of this console? Like 15? 20 maybe? At best. Like truly PS5 exclusive games that are not on PC, it's only about like 15. And out of those, how many of them were just remasters? Personally, the only thing I care about that makes a PS5 game feel like a PS5 game is the use of the DualSense feature. If it's lacking, it's just a shiny PS4 game with better frame rates and better loading times. So as far as PS Plus Extra goes, the only few games that are and feel like a PS5 games are Returnal, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Astro's Playroom, which comes with the PS5 system. That's it, those 3 games. Hopefully, this year we'll finally start to see the change, with the announcement that early next year the PS4 will not be supported anymore with new games, and also the great game lineup coming out in 2025 and 2026 does give us hope for the future. But for now, the PS5 feels like it's really lagging behind when compared to the PS4 around the same time frame. We are 5 years past its release date. Do you remember what the PS4 was like in 2019? It was a very healthy beast of a system with a very impressive catalog. So although the PS5 is backwards compatible and can play almost all of the PS4 games we mentioned, it doesn't feel like it has its own voice, or gives much reason for a lot of gamers to upgrade. They can still play the newest releases just fine at 30 FPS. Or even better, get the PS4 Pro, which is so much cheaper. It's not the best, especially with the loading times, but it's still very doable. If you really want to see how sad the PS5 exclusive page is, we can compare it to the Wii U exclusive page. And if you count how many PS5 exclusives are remakes, remasters, or sequels, it is not looking good at all for the PS5 game catalog. Peripherals. Okay, so this one is personal. When I first got the PS5, I was huge into Apex and multiplayer games, and I loved my PS4 controller. I had this very helpful gadget that gave me access to back button controls. This thing was almost a cheat code in competitive multiplayer matches, and the best part was the price. This thing was barely $20. It made your basic controller feel like a pro controller. So when I got the PS5 and brought it home, I realized the PS5 didn't have such options for attachments. Now, this was years before the DualSense Edge came out, which was the first official Sony product to give back button support. But the problem is the DualSense Edge was more than half the price of the PS5 itself. Third-party alternatives weren't any better either. Anywhere you looked for back button support, you were spending double the price of a normal controller just for those back buttons. The only thing I found that was semi-reasonable were these kits from Extreme Rate, where you could mod your controllers for cheap to finally have back button support for the PS5 for less than the price of the actual controller. Now, this does take a little confidence and know-how and will most likely void your warranty, but this was the closest thing we had to that cheap $20 accessory. It's not for everyone, but I personally have the tools already and constantly open up the DualSense to clean and fix stick drift. So this was my only option I had. So if you wanted to go in this direction and are comfortable taking things apart, I did get a hold of a company and I did get you guys a discount code. So if you guys want your own back button attachment and are comfortable working with screwdrivers and don't mind voiding the warranty, use my links in the description and use the code SHORTKINGS to get a discount at checkout. Again, I'm not responsible for anything you break and you might void your warranty, but they do have an incredible set of detailed tutorials for every controller type if you're doing it for the first time. So if you're confident and want to fix it yourself, give that a try. But these are the hurdles that we have to do for the PS5. It was so easy on the PS4. Just a $20 attachment and that's it. You just slid it right in and it just worked. So simple. On the PS5, our options are spend insane money on a pro controller or get your hands dirty and potentially break your controller. So that's a definite win for PS4. It was just so easy and seamless. Back buttons for cheap. I could only dream about that on the PS5. Now, I could mention headsets and specialty controllers and VR and PS4 cameras and even steering wheels and racing gear that don't work on the PS5, but I wanted to focus on the accessories that I actually used. If you have experience with accessories that didn't work on the PS5 that did on the PS4, leave your story in the comments below. Optical output. Okay, this next one is a bit technical and niche, but really ticked off a lot of gamers. Unlike the PS4 or the PS3, and even the PS2, the PS5 decided to completely get rid of the optical digital audio output. The only audio output on the PS5 is now HDMI, which carries both video and audio signals. HDMI is perfectly fine if you're gaming on a TV and happy with the sound, but for some people who have a proper home theater setup, it can be quite the problem. Because for those, you need a separate cord going just to the stereo and the speakers that's separate from the one going to the TV. Now, TV speakers have come a long way over the years, but they still don't even compare to the power and clarity of a proper home theater system with dedicated surround sound audio. And it's not just home theater audiophiles that are affected either. If you have a high-end gaming headset that relied on like a mix amp or a controller for the volume, you are also out of luck. Your fancy headset now needs another dongle that you need to buy. You can find a workaround using an HDMI optical adapter, but that's just extra things you gotta buy and set up to play the newest system. Something that just worked so naturally on the PS4. It was just plug and play. And to be fair, a lot of newer pro gaming headsets do offer USB-C connections as well, which fits right into the front slot of the PlayStation 5 USB-C port. But that USB-C port in the front is placed in such a weird spot, and I constantly find find that my headset dongle blocks the regular USB-A slot right below it. So my PlayStation 5 now overall has one less USB slot that's functional. While USB-C might work for pro headsets, it still doesn't solve the problem of a home theater setup. PS5 just makes it a little bit harder and more pricier to enjoy your expensive setup properly. So that's another point where the PS4 just got it right out of the box. Size. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and the elephant in this case is the giant PS5. If you've ever gotten your hands on a PS5 or seen one in real life, the first thing you notice is its massive size. Sure, the design is cool and looks like some cool alien tech. It's very sleek, modern, but anytime my friends come over and seen it, they've been like, damn, that's a lot bigger than I expected. That's what she said. Its sheer physical size, the PS5 stands as the largest PlayStation console to date. Maybe even the largest console to date, period. I mean, the Sega with the Sega CD and the 32X was quite the monument, but this is pretty close. The size isn't a huge issue because if you've got a monitor attached to it, you can basically treat it like a computer tower and have a proper desk setup for it. But then at that point, just get a PC for gaming. But if you're playing on a TV, you're going to run into an issue. Many gamers have been complaining all over the internet about the sheer size of the PS5 and how it just does not fit into most standard entertainment centers or shelving units. Popular IKEA shelves only have like 13-inch squares, and that awkward 15.4-inch size of the PS5 can only fit diagonally sometimes, which is not ideal. So your options are, you can put it on the floor or next to the TV on top of the shelving unit. It is a hulking white monstrosity that requires a dedicated space. Some gamers even resorted to hiding it behind the TV or in less visible areas to maintain the aesthetics of their clean setups. The combination of its size and design make it stand out for sure, especially when it's on with its LED lights. Some people love it being the center of attention, but others don't want it to stand out as much. The PS4, on the other hand, was sleek, black, and fit right next to the DVD player. It was made with home shelving in mind. Community. When you booted up the PlayStation 4, it felt like walking into a party, a room where your friends had just been hanging out. The first thing you saw was the What's New community tab. It was essentially a digital corkboard showing what everyone was up to, like a social media feed. You could see what games your friends were playing, what trophies they just got. It even showed you what day you started a new game. As an aside, I don't think that information is anywhere. I usually like to see how many days it took me to beat a game at my own pace, and the closest thing I have is the first trophy I ever received in that game. I can see when I obtained that first trophy and guess how many days it took me to beat it based on the last trophy I got on that game. But the problem is, some games take forever to even give you that first trophy, so it's often not the first day you played it. This was a tiny little bit of extra info that was useful, for me at least, to keep tabs, pun intended, on your own gaming habits and schedule. The community tab just made gaming feel so social and less lonely. It was reassuring knowing that your friends are grinding the same game as you, even if you didn't talk to them or play that game with them. You could scroll through it like social media and you might discover a new game that your friend started playing, or see that an old friend is finally playing that game that you've been trying to convince them to play, and finally hop in together. It started a conversation. Next time you talk to that person, you ask them how they liked it, how long it took them to beat it, what parts did they like the best. A little bit creepy because you could see everything they did, but it was really appreciated. It was subtle, but it was great for a community. And then the PlayStation 5 removed the What's New section. Now, if you want to see trophies and compare them to your friends, you have to go through so many menus to see what your friends have been up to. Now, they did patch this recently in the Welcome tab. There is a tiny widget that you could put on called Friend Activity, and it's almost the same, but a really bare bones version of what we used to have. You can't endlessly scroll through it, but you can press R1 to go to the next status update, but it's only limited to like less than 10 posts. It's not quite as detailed as it was on the PS4. Even if you make the widget bigger, you're still limited to those last few posts. If you click on it, you'd think it would take you to a whole feed that you can scroll. But no, instead, it just takes you to the friend's profile instead, where you can compare trophies, which we had on the PS4. Saved clips. Okay, this one is a bit niche and preference-based specifically for me, but here it goes. There is one feature that I missed about the PS4 that's not on the PS5, and that was the ability to rewind and fast forward my game clips with the R2 and L2 buttons. On the PS5, there are a lot of things I love about the media gallery. It's efficient and everything, but I never really watched the clips on the PS5 itself, compared to how much I used to watch them on the PS4. The difference is minor, but I just liked it a little bit better. So on the PS5, you scroll to the media gallery, which is treated like an app or a game, so if you don't use it, it gets hidden in the game library, which is a little bit weird because the PS5 makes it a point to separate games from media like YouTube and Netflix via tabs. So just a little aside that it's weird that the media gallery is not in the media tab, and instead is treated like a game. So if you have used it recently, it will show up on the main screen. You navigate to it, click X, and this is what you see. So what I tend to do usually is press R1 twice to get to the album, then I can view the clips by game. And I'll compare this to the PS4. So when I click on the clip, I can watch it just fine. But here's what I hate. The only way to fast forward or rewind is to press right or left on the D-pad or joystick, and it only moves in 10-second increments. I can hold down the button and it accelerates, so you can seek faster. This is normally okay, but let's say we have a short 30-second clip. My only options are to go forward and back 10 seconds at a time, so 3 touch points. So if something just happened like 3 seconds ago and I took a clip of it and I want to rewatch that last few seconds. So if I wanted to watch just the ending, I have to fast forward to the end, back 10 seconds and watch the entire last 10 seconds. On the PS4, they had a dedicated rewind button, but the PS5, it's more like the YouTube app where you double click the side of the screen and it goes back like 10 or 15 seconds. But unlike the YouTube app where you could click the timeline and go back just a few seconds, on the PS5, you can only rewind 10 seconds at a time. Now, to be fair, when you edit the clip, both the PS4 and the PS5 allow you to seek much slower. I just wish this option was available when actually previewing the clips. And I also don't understand why they got rid of the R2, L2 buttons for fast forward and rewind. Not only that, but the L2 and R2 buttons were also used to set the trim points. Start here and end here, a button for each. On the PS5, you had to click X twice to start here. So the PS4 was more intuitive and efficient. Less buttons to get the same thing done. The chat versus the Gamebase. Some people love it because it reminds them of Discord and group chats, but some people like the old system better. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, and this one's going to be more preference-based. So the PS5 introduced Gamebase, a dedicated hangout space where you can share content, plan play sessions, jump into games, or just catch up. You can even access this through the web or the PS app on your mobile device. These party chats are meant to be always on. You can get in and get out whenever you want, which is similar to WhatsApp or Discord. Any friend you invite to that party can join that party anytime they want and start chatting. They don't need an invitation from you every single time. If you want to exclude one specific friend, you have to create another party with just that friend. People can share clips, pics, and it's just like a home base for all your friends. It's a big party chat. A lot of people preferred the old method that was used in the PS4, but personally, I'm used to the PS5 method now. Ever since the integration with Discord, I honestly don't even use party chat anymore. The majority of my online multiplayer friends are on PC and Xbox. Not gonna lie, some of these PlayStation 5 features seem pretty cool. Like imagine doing picture-in-picture and seeing your friend's perspective in real time. You don't even need the mic at that point. You can see what he's trying to tell you. Maybe you can be my PlayStation friend for a small price of $29.99. Who said friendships can't be bought? Anyway, I'm honestly going to take this point away, because as good as the PS4 system was, the chat options on the PS5 are next level. It just takes some getting used to. It's a controversial point, but what team are you on? Do you like the new Gamebase and all its features? Or do you prefer the simplicity of the PS4 design? Now that we've gone over how many of the PS5 features the PS4 can still do, let's go over the most important factor that's keeping millions from upgrading from the PS4 to the PS5. This really should have been number one. Of course, we're talking about the price. If we go to Best Buy right now, the cheapest PS5, the digital version, is going for $450 plus tax. The Slim is $500 and the Pro is $700 US. Now, if we use Canadian dollars, you're looking at easily easily over $1,000 when tax is included for the PS5 Pro. The cheapest one is still over $600. Over here we have a tax of 13%, so that's $660. And that's for the cheapest version that doesn't even play discs. Keep in mind this doesn't include any games, which can cost over $100. But don't worry, you won't be able to play them because you don't have a disc drive. What you will need is another controller. That's another $100. You probably need a way to charge that controller, so that's another $50. And you're going to want to upgrade your headphones to take advantage of the 3D audio. So that's $100 to $200. Oh, it's okay that I can't play any physical games because I just plan on getting PS Plus. Oh no, it's how much now? Never mind, I think I'm just going to play free-to-play games online. Wait, I still need PS Plus for that? Okay, I'll go with the lowest tier. How much is it now? What? It's gone up that much? We're already looking at well over $1,000 for the cheapest version. Now, to be fair, you could totally buy used. You can save $100 or $200. All you have to do is deal with the stick drift that will be here in 2 months. That is, if you're lucky and it's not here already. The PlayStation 4, on the other hand, is literally half the price. And that's for the Pro version. The original, you can get it dirt cheap, even half of that. And just a reminder that you can play all the games, those 3,500 games we talked about. To this day, games are still being released for the original PS4. It is a no-brainer. If you don't care about frame rate or loading times, the PS4 is one of the best bang for buck in gaming today, maybe ever. Just remember to open it up and clean the fan so it doesn't sound like a jet engine taking off. Especially if you're buying it used and there were kids or pets in that house. You'd be surprised how much dust is in there. This next one's a bit nitpicky, but it's worth mentioning. So now we're looking at the PS Plus Extra tab. The one thing that sucks about the PS4 is all the loading times. Even the PS Store takes a while to load. So Game Catalog is for PS Extra. The Classics Catalog is for PS Premium. There it goes. So this is kind of interesting. It has the Classics Catalog. So this is only Premium. I don't know. I don't think we have this. We do not have an exclusively Premium Games tab on the PS5. We go to Game Catalog. So browsing just the Game Catalog, it looks quite different from the PS5, but one thing I notice is there are no premium games, only PS Extra games, which is really great because on the PS5, when you go to Game Catalog, it shows you PS Extra and PS Premium games. So this is a lot more useful. It is separated into 2 tabs. Now here it is on PlayStation 5. So if I go right to games, it shows me all the games, but it shows me PS Premium games. I have PS Plus Extra. I don't have Premium. So why am I being shown games that I don't have access to? Now, if I go up a tab and go left to Benefits, then click on Game Catalog, then View Games, now I finally get shown the games that are only on PS Plus Extra. Every game in here I have access to. There are no options for PS Plus Premium games that I don't have access to. While the PS4 had 2 very clear tabs, one for extra games and one for the classic catalog, over on the PS5 it's very confusing. If I even were to click on the classics catalog, it just says upgrade. So it knows that I don't have access to PS Plus Premium games. So why does it bother showing them to me if I don't have access? So they actually figured it out. So on PS5, when I hit all games, it shows me PS3 games for some reason, like the premium games that I don't have access to. So that was the game catalog and view all option on the PS4. Very cool. And then if I were to browse, I wonder where that would go. There we go. So if I go to browse, now I get shown the 2 premium games that get added. Only then are they showing me the games that I don't have access to on the PS Plus Extra tier. So that's pretty interesting. Because on the PS5, when I say view all, show me the games I have access to, it still shows me premium games, which I don't have access to. So I don't know. I'm kind of liking the PS4 menu a little bit better. What do you guys think? Okay, now we're going to navigate the PS Store. So if you need a refresher because you haven't played a PS4 in a while, we got the featured, what's hot, games, and look at this, a separate tab for deals, collections, and the games showed up in these tiny little tabs. It tells you the price, tells you the percentage, you know, typical stuff. And then on the PS5, things look quite a bit different. When viewing the PS Store, it's all about horizontal menus. Some people love it, some people hate it. I said this was going to be nitpicky, but for me, I just like the vertical menu a little bit better. The PS5 menu does seem sleek and cool and modern, but to me, it just reminds me of ads and advertisement and people trying to sell me things. I get the irony of the statement while browsing in a literal store. I don't know, it's just a preference thing. Which one do you guys like more? The sleek design of the horizontal menu or the classic vertical menu? Anyways, I don't want this video to get too long. I know the last 2 points were more preference based, but hey, we made it to 20 points. 20 reasons why the PS4 is better than the PS5, according to some people. I love that you guys are enjoying this series, and a few of you got big mad that I offended your expensive console, but like I said, I have both. There's a reason I bought the PS5, and I will make a rebuttal video for the PS5. This was just a fun exercise to see all the things we missed that we might have forgotten about. Thanks for watching, and thanks for commenting, and if you really want to support the channel, click on some of the links in the description, or even better, become a member of the channel. Thanks for sticking around, and until next time, be a friend, and I'll see you again.